Konnichiwa, Mino, Gemini, and welcome to the first episode of YAR Talk, our little podcast amongst the YouTube Adventure Roundtable. Joining me, we have our resident Space Quest expert, Ikifoo. No, of course. I am, of course, referring to the Space Quest historian.
Hello, I'm the
Although,
Space
hell,
Quest
maybe
historian.
Ikifoo knows a thing or two, too.
To be here. I like talking over people.
I like the dance.
We do have Ikifoo as well, though.
Hello.
Who may or may not be an expert in something.
He's
If I find out what it is, I'll let you know.
the Orion Conspiracy.
Trolls don't swear.
And we've lost him.
The Orion Conspiracy
goes
historian.
Oh god.
And joining us are the two people responsible for inflicting Second Life upon us. Awesomonster and the Wanderer 1990.
I'm so proud to be known as the person who inflicted Second Life on
Me
somebody.
too. I also inflicted Uru on you guys though, so it's like a double whammy for me.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Uru
many
was
wall
fine.
vaginas.
I have plans
I
to
don't
inflict other things
Were
on
you
y'all.
playing the same Uru I was? I do not remember the wall. I don't even. This is getting off to a flying start.
I will show you the
later
wall
on.
vagina later.
Oh, joy.
When you're older.
I look forward to that. Later on, we are going to be discussing just what exactly an adventure game is. And we'll also be having some fun and games as well. But, shall I tell you what I'm looking forward to, guys? Techno-Babylon Birthright.
Yes.
And I'm actually proud of myself for calling it Birthright because I don't know why, but I keep wanting to call it Rebirth. I don't know why.
It looks fucking awesome. I'll tell you that. Ben Chandler's been spending the last year trying to do 3D modeling, and he's come a long fucking way, baby.
Doing so good. I'm so proud of him.
I mean, Rebirth would technically fit because, I mean, if you haven't seen the screenshots on Twitter yet, this is going to be the first 3D game from Wajidai Games. Everything else has been 2D up to this point, and it looks pretty good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty wild, I think.
Ben just astounds me constantly.
Ben astounds me.
I'm
Jane,
so proud. I'm so proud to be friends with somebody so talented. I think that a lot about all my friends, though. Like, I'm friends with some of the most talented people, and I'm like, I'm so honored. I don't know. It's so nice.
And then you also know me. But we should not underestimate.
Well, I mean,
we should not underestimate James Dearden, who is not
Yeah.
only
Who
a
wrote
great
the thing,
writer
yeah.
and a great world builder, but also an epic fucking troll. Did anyone catch him at Adventure X last year? He was walking around.
Oh, yeah.
He was walking around with a laptop, and he was cornering people and just sort of going, "Hey, you want to see Techno-Babylon 2?" And it was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, man!" Everyone who knows Techno-Babylon knows one of the fucking amazing game, one of the best games that Wajidai has put out.
I've got Lao over there on my wall right now, so you can tell I kind of like the game.
Yeah, it is awesome. So he's like pulling me aside and going, "Hey, dude, you want to see Techno-Babylon 2?" And I go, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I do." And he opens the laptop and he goes, "Shh, you can't tell anyone this." And he opens up the laptop and he opens up an exe file called Techno-Babylon 2. And what comes up is a title screen that says, "Dance, Dance, Techno-Babylon, press buttons." And there's a button that just says press buttons. You press it and it goes into this virtual space. It's the trance. And every character you've ever met in Techno-Babylon and some more are just dancing away merrily. And that's all it
that
does.
was the sequel.
That was the demo.
Sorry, spoiler alert. That is the sequel.
Yeah, he even said on Twitter, "Oh, that's one of the endings, dude. You weren't supposed to say that." Epic troll.
Yeah, if anyone's familiar with Fahrenheit, there's a little sort of dance sequence in there, including
God.
lovely footage of David Cage dancing with a woman in her underwear.
Oh,
It's,
Fahrenheit.
Just a tiny bit like that.
I have so many opinions on Fahrenheit. Now is not the time or the place, but I have a lot of opinions on Fahrenheit.
What I will say is, I played it back in the day, and then decided what me and my friends sometimes do is we kind of inflict games on each other. This is not my intention, but I did have them play Fahrenheit, and about halfway through it, I just had to say, "Look, I remembered this a lot differently. Sorry."
It has a strong start, is the thing. Like,
oh,
the
that's
first
definitely that opening
hour
is
or
legendary.
two of that game is really good, and then suddenly there's like beetles everywhere, and everything goes insane. It's like there's a point where that game is like, hey, remember the Matrix? Let's do that. Except bad.
Except
QTEs.
horrifyingly.
QTEs.
Of all the things Enter the Matrix didn't do,
So
I
bad.
think QTEs is one of them.
So bad.
I remember this bit was where we were all supposed to like pitch in a news item, and I forgot to do that. So I'm just scrolling through Twitter looking for
That's okay.
talk about.
I got plenty of stuff to
I'm
cover.
just
You don't worry
here
about it.
along
Always
for
be
the
prepared.
ride. I don't know anything about anything, so that's just in general. I just in
go-
general don't know anything about anything. I'm just along for the
don't-
ride.
Hey, don't feel bad. I am naturally the best choice for host of this podcast because out of all of
Naturally.
us, I've probably played the least adventure games.
Of course. So we're here to educate
works.
and
To educate you, yeah, we're here to
Yeah,
help
there we
you
go. There we
play
go.
the best
We'll go with that.
adventure game.
Oh wait,
I'll put a little bit of news
I
stuff.
have a news item. Oh, sorry, did I just talk over someone again? Yes, I did. Oh well, it's a quick.
your
all good, man.
It's
all
a-
good.
Yeah, it's a quick one.
Go ahead.
Mage's Initiation, the new
Trolls
game
has
from
the floor.
Himalaya Studios, written by my dear friend Daniel Stacy, by the way, lovely character, has a new update out, the version 1.1 patch, which includes, mercifully, a I'm a wuss at RPG mode, which eliminates all unnecessary combat, which would mean technically all of it, except for the boss battles, but they're much easier now. Because again, this is the I hate combat and RPG mode, so that's awesome, and I applaud Himalaya Studios for introducing a mechanic or a mode into their game that makes me want to play the game even more. Because
I have
fuck
something.
RPGs.
Sorry.
More
I
accessibility
have
is always
something.
nice.
I have a news item.
Do share.
Starting yesterday, for 2 weeks, if you get the Epic Games launcher, you can get Thimbleweed Park for free.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
What are your thoughts
Also,
on this?
son of a
epic
bitch,
thing?
I was going to say that one.
Game launcher. I have all the game launchers because I'm poor, and they give you free games sometimes. So I have all of them. I have like the Twitch one. I've got Origin.
It's a Twitch game launcher.
Pooh. Yeah.
Twitch
they-
Prime.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it pairs
I don't know
with
why I'm
Twitch
surprised
Prime.
at this. But
And then you get a bunch of free games. I got Piku Niku for free. I got Tacoma for free. I got Soma for free. I got all sorts of free. They have like all sorts of free. And they like most of it, I will say, with Twitch Prime, most of it is like MMO loot crates, which who gives a shit. But
yeah.
every so often, like Devolver will have a bunch of free games available that you can just get all of these games, and it's fantastic. I love free things.
All in exchange for
Who doesn't?
a bunch of automated emails and maybe having
I
your
just-
name and password leaked every 6 months or so.
You just put it
Small
on
price
a
to pay.
burner account. Just put it like burner
Oh, of course.
email account. Who gives a shit?
May I
Just send all the
recommend
spam to it. I don't care.
33mail.com. Excellent service. You just type in whatever bullshit at whateverbullshit.33mail.com and Bob's your uncle. They're all-
Hashtag not spawn.
not spawn, obviously. It's just the one that I found, and it hasn't failed me yet.
This podcast sponsored by whatever bullshit.
No, really.
Seriously.
But what's everyone's thought on the whole Epic launch? It's gotten some lukewarm reception so far, even though they're giving away shit for free and apparently treat developers much better than Steam. What's your hot take on that?
I mean, that's about the extent of my
mean-
knowledge, but
Yeah, I don't
Right,
have,
yeah,
a,
I
I don't
haven't
have
really
a
used
hot
it.
take on it.
I haven't really used it
Unfortunately.
enough to. I mean, basically, my only experience with it is like Pete. I've gotten
Yeah.
their free games. I got
The free
Subnautica,
shit, and then I don't.
and I
yeah.
played that. I played Subnautica a little bit before
Oh
I
my
remembered.
God.
Oh yeah, I'm a wuss, and I
I
can't
love
handle jump scares.
Subnautica. It's one of my the
It's
year
great.
it came out was my favorite game of that year. It was
Yeah,
2016,
I love
2017, something
underwater
like that.
worlds, but I
Oh,
can't
it's
stand
so
jump scares,
good.
so I couldn't play it.
Hey, there's
So I
actually
got,
love
I got the
it.
Jackbox
there's
Party Pack.
there's a
got
I'm a
the
wuss
movie.
at survival games mode in that game as well. There's just the exploration mode, which again,
Oh, yeah, creative
thumbs up to developers
Yeah.
who put in modes for people who hate their games. I love it. It's fantastic.
Well, I
Do you
love
have
that,
a game,
really
but
mean-
you don't want to play the game?
like,
Here.
I think
well, like,
the next Watch It Eye title should just be it should have like an adventure game mode, and then it should have a mode that just turns off all the puzzles and turns it into a walking simulator, so you can just walk from one end of the adventure to the other and just go. Ah.
and just see all the beautiful art that they did.
Yeah.
I'd
Speaking
be cool with that.
of
A band
Speaking
mode.
of Watch It Eye games and other similar awesome developers, Aggie Awards. Those have been going on apparently. Who's been keeping track of
I
those?
totally missed it. I mean,
Dave won an
I don't
award.
have- Of course,
I think he
we
won more than
did.
one.
They're great.
Oh look,
I mean,
Dave
that's
won
kind
another
of to be
award.
expected, but yeah. See, Unavowed, I think it got. I
All the
like I said, I haven't been
awards?
keeping track. I've been busy this past week, but yeah, probably got. But I think it got something for voice acting at least, didn't it?
Yeah, well deserved.
I think so.
I think the vote,
I think so, yeah.
the awards were kind of evenly split between Unavowed and the new Larry game. So I guess those were the only two that people voted for, and the guys at Adventure Gamers just sort of rolled dice and went, "All right, this one goes to Unavowed." Nah, I'm kidding.
Francisco
So
got
Lamplight City
something
didn't win anything?
For Lamplight
Because
City,
I thought I heard
best
it won something
setting,
too.
I think he got
Oh,
something like that.
I am of
Let me go
course
and see.
kidding. I know there's a very scientific method behind the whole Adventure Gamers Aggie Awards. Of course. Stop emailing me.
It's very scientific.
You can tell we're very
Space
professional
Quest
and
historian,
prepared
and-
and research everything.
Yeah, I'm the Space Quest
Yeah.
historian, not the adventure game historian. There's a difference.
Aggie Award and Reader's Choice for Best Setting for Lamplight City, which is fantastic.
Francisco.
Yeah, that's good.
We like Mr. Francisco.
Maybe next year we'll actually keep track of it and we'll be able to bring you more updates.
You know,
Anyway.
it's funny that I don't keep track of this because I ran the AGS Awards for a year. For 1 year, because nobody else wanted to do it. So
Oh,
I ran
cool.
the AGS Awards, and it was I
Nice.
did a bad job, but it was all right. That was
Did-
before they automated anything. Like
So-
I had like reams of papers of like this
Oh,
got this
God,
many
no.
votes. Like it sucked.
I've
So I only did it 1 year.
I've actually attended the AGS Awards because StairQuest was up for a couple of awards a couple of years ago. Don't ask why. But does this would imply that at some point you have given Dave Gilbert an award?
Probably, yeah. I mean, he's a friend of mine, so
Well, yeah, he's a friend of mine as well. But still,
I don't know. Probably.
Don't
Weird
you
flex,
give your
but okay.
friends awards?
I give
all
him
my
best
friends
friend
awards.
awards all the time.
What the hell?
If you have not gotten an
Where's
award
mine?
from me, you're not truly my friend. Did I just get booted from the call? Yeah.
Yeah, where's my fucker?
Yeah, it keeps unfocused.
The truth is coming out now, is it? Okay, fine. Welcome to
I
the
just
last
mean-
episode of the Yard Talk. No.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't give him the award. People voted for him to have the award. Let me think.
I voted.
That
for
was
this.
the year. It was
Shardlight. That was the one I attended. Was when Shardlight won everything.
Oh no! See, I did it way before that. It was the twins one. The one. What was that game called? Two of a Kind. Dave's. I'm looking it up.
Oh, Gemini.
It was a
Root.
Dave one.
No,
Gemini Root?
yeah, it was. It was before Watch It Eye. Let me just say that it's been a long time. It's been a
The
long
only
time ago.
pre-Wadja Eye one I know of is the Shiva.
Yeah, no, it was before the Shiva.
Damn.
Dave Gilbert. Wet dreams don't dry.
There was a time before the Shiva.
Yeah, Two of a
There
Kind.
were adventure games before the Shiva?
Adventure game
2004.
BC. The 90s.
So
I'm pretty
so should
sure
we
that was
call
the year I
any
ran it.
years before the Shiva BS or no?
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
no time.
2004 is the year I ran the AGS Awards.
Wow.
Wow.
I've been in the sauce for a long time, boys.
And then I started hitting the sauce, and then
Okay.
things just got derailed from there.
Here, what are you doing?
In the soup.
It's nothing.
Soup's on.
Oh, he just wants to leave.
Soup's on.
Alas, we
Alright.
cannot see.
So-
but we'll see later.
This just randomly popped up in my recommended feed on YouTube the other day. I don't know why, because I barely touched anything related to Monkey Island in I don't know how many years. But
It heard you
a
talking
bunch-
about it.
yeah, apparently, a bunch of Italian people. The channel was run by someone named Danielle Spadoni, I think. Got together and made a live-action Monkey Island fan film.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
You
I
saw
somebody
that.
talking about that.
I've
I
not
haven't
seen
seen it.
that. I've
I
seen
haven't
the
It's
watched
German.
it, but
basically-
I've seen it.
I've seen the German
It's
play of
basically
it.
Yeah, like I said, it's live action, and it's very much reminiscent of Godzilla monster films because the people are speaking Italian, but they've got the actual game audio in English dubbed over it. I think the only original voice they did was the narrator for some reason. I don't know why, but it was actually pretty good. I think they actually found some real life locations that looked like scenes and locations from Monkey Island.
Wow,
That's cool.
And they've done like several fan films of different genres and media altogether. They had some like live action anime fan films, and as far as games go, I think they did one of Another World and Maniac Mansion as well, which those I haven't seen, but
that
I
sounds good
imagine
though.
they'll be pretty good
Yeah,
too.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
I saw.
I would love to see it.
I think I might have seen the Another World one, or was that just there was that trailer of Another World, which was actually really awesomely done. This dude was driving a Ferrari, and the CG animation was really lifelike, and this guy had short cropped hair with this really awful dye job to look like that orange carroty tint that the protagonist in Another World had.
Right.
Yeah.
That was really aside of all that, it looked really fantastic. But I haven't seen this one, the Monkey Island one, so I'm gonna have to go and check that one out.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Has anyone seen the
have to
German
admit,
stage play of it?
I
No.
never even heard of such a
I've
thing.
seen
It's
like
on
a
YouTube.
clip from it.
It's on YouTube full length with English subtitles. It is fantastically, hilariously. Well, it is what it is.
It's like a high school
kind of-
production.
Yeah,
It
it's
kind of makes me think of
high school dropout
Suddenly
production.
I'm eager to see insult sword fights in German.
Yeah.
what was 5 Days a Stranger? Somebody made a fan film of that.
Oh,
The
the
Yahtzee
Yahtzee
game?
adventure game.
Somebody made a fan film of that, and
Cool.
they kept mispronouncing the main character's name as Tribley instead of Trilby, and
Oh.
it's like a high school kid who loved the game made a movie about it. So it's hard to laugh at, but he keeps saying Tribley, and you're like, it's Trilby, please, please, honey, it's
Sweet little
Trilby.
strange boy.
Oh, honey.
I would be
Sorry,
sitting through the whole thing
you're
going
saying
like,
the name wrong. Every time you're saying the name wrong.
Yeah, my OBS just crashed, but I got it back up, so we're all good.
cool.
Hey.
Yay for technology.
Well, we'll fix it in
Might have a
post.
little icon of
Maybe.
Wanderer for a bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ikifoo, I was talking over you now.
If Wanderer disappeared for a while, that's why.
Did you say something before I started rudely interrupting you as well?
What was that, like 4 hours ago? I have no idea.
Yeah, something about
It's all gone out of my brain.
when I shouted out Monkey Island stage play, and you were about to say something, and then here comes Mr. Rude.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone
for
from my
good.
brain, I'm afraid.
You will never hear
Yeah.
it again. All right, fine.
Yeah, I don't even know where I live now. It's all empty up here.
Oh,
He'll suddenly
Talking
remember about
about-
midway through the podcast.
talking about fan films reminds me. I told you guys that I was going to show this to you before. But me and Francisco and a bunch of people at Mittens, which I don't know if you guys are in the AGS community enough to know, Mittens is like the yearly get-together kind of thing. For 2009 Mittens, it was in Florida, we made a movie where I played an inspector, and it's like Ben Jordan. He plays Ben Jordan in it for a little bit. It's a hell of a thing. And Chris Jones, the guy who made AGS, is in it. And
I thought that was the guy that played Tex Murphy.
Different Christian.
different Chris Jones.
He actually is Chris Jones.
No,
Yeah,
it's
there's two
the,
There
yeah,
are
his name is
multiple-
actually Chris Jones, but it's not.
But it's not the
That won't
same
get
Chris
confusing.
Jones. And it's a movie that people make when they're on vacation for a week in a mansion, and they're like, let's just make a movie.
I need to see this.
As
Francisco's
you-
mentioned it before. I need to see this.
It's a hell of a thing.
Yeah, we have to see
We
this.
talked about
Yeah.
making an FMV game, like on topic. We're talking about FMV games today. We talked about making an FMV game where it's like a parody of FMV, because Francisco hates FMV games. He hates them. So he's like wants to make an FMV game where like every interaction is like like you go to open a door and it puts up like a 5-second close-up of the door handle before you open it, and then it takes another 10 seconds to open the door.
Tell you what we should
every
do.
step of the way is miserable.
Tell you what we should do. Be the perfect April Fool's prank on him. Make an FMV version of Space Quest 2 and make him play it.
Oh, that is a lot of effort for an April Fool's joke. I'm into it.
Yes, it would be worth it. You know it would be worth it.
Yes, hello, United Nations.
I'd like to report a crime against humanity.
Oh, man.
Any other news? Anybody got anything else?
Well, I have a bit of news, but I've just found out about it, so it's news to me, but you guys might already know this.
You married a dragon. Oh wait, that was a long time ago.
Spoilers.
We promise not to bring that up.
Yeah,
You'll find out one day.
when you're older.
Sorry.
It'll be out by the time this is out, actually. But yeah, sorry. Never mind.
So, no, you're right. So, a couple of guys from Telltale Games actually have started their own studio called Ad Hoc Studio. You guys know about this?
No, but that's
No,
good
so-
because
Sounds vaguely
Telltale
familiar. I can't
went
remember.
into a bit of a spiral there at the end, so
They
that's
did.
good.
Yeah.
They did. So 4 of these guys from Telltale, Michael Chung, Nick Herman, Dennis Lennart, and Pierre Charette, they've started a little studio called Ad Hoc Studio, and they're saying they want to keep it small because they want to go after, I guess, more risky projects that you can't really pitch to a larger team or a larger company. They haven't got any projects yet, but what they say they want to create is interactive experiences and possibly FMV games.
Nice.
Because what
So-
LucasArts
I mean,
were
they
known
are becoming
for.
something of a
More
hotness.
the
Well,
more
yeah,
the
with
merrier.
Bandersnatch. You guys seen that Black Mirror episode?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I've not played
I've
it
heard
yet.
of it, but Black Mirror is not really my cup of tea.
Oh, I loved it to
Yeah,
bits.
I've never watched
It's pretty
an
good.
episode.
Oh
I'm
no,
not
I've watched
a fan of things
all
like
of
that.
all of Black Mirror. It is
Yeah.
fantastic, and the Bandersnatch thing was so wonderful because I mean I don't know how Netflix are going to make other interactive films or episodes or whatever from this point on, because the one they just did with it was months and months ago,
Yeah.
but the one they did was so meta and so well thought out, and so
It's
good.
a hard act to follow for
It-
sure.
You can't top it
Yeah.
because it makes fun of the medium of interactive episodes itself before it's even like become a thing. Like
yeah.
it's wonderful. So I highly recommend that. Also, it takes place in the 80s, and you see a dude programming an what is it? It's a Sinclair, like the old
Spectrum?
or is it a BBC Micro? I'm not even sure. It's one of those. One of those
I want
old,
'em.
like
Spec-
ZX.
I want
Spectrum would be small. BBC Micro would be the size of a small car.
It's a specky.
So it's the mic.
I want them
yeah.
all.
It's a specky.
I
Might be a
those
ZX81
computers.
actually.
Yeah, the little
I
black
wanna-
thing with dead flesh keys.
Yeah,
They're so cute.
I love that line from Red Dwarf when they crash Starbark for like the millionth time, and Crichton goes, "Don't worry, this thing has crashed more times than a ZX81."
I mean, I like the reference, but they've had better similes.
They've had a lot of adventure
That's
game
insane.
similes. Someone should sit down and do a Red Dwarf adventure game.
We
I'm-
should. Let's do that.
Didn't they
Let's
try to
do
do that
it.
at some point?
No,
Me
they
and
just
you.
did
They did a
stupid
text
mobile-
adventure.
That was a
We're
fan.
doing one.
The text adventure was a fan game.
We're gonna do
Really?
a real one. I am a massive Red Dwarf fan. Like, I name an episode, I can quote them. When I was in high school, I recorded Red Dwarf every Saturday night off of PBS, and they'd show and I have every season except for season 6. Here's what happened. They showed season 5 up through season 5, and then season 7 was just coming out, so they skipped season 6.
Oh
and
no, that
had
was the
season
last
7.
good
Yeah.
season.
So
But my-
until I was an adult, I never saw season 6. So I can quote every episode except for season 6 episodes. Like, it's like my one blind spot because I've only seen it like a few times as an adult.
this is
Really
exactly.
PBS
sad.
kind of screwed me over that way when I was just getting into classic Doctor Who, because they played the 3rd Doctor era, and then they skipped ahead to the 7th Doctor era, and then they went back to the 3rd Doctor era. And
Yes, what
then
are
I
you
think
doing?
they either went back to the
Settle
7th
down,
Doctor
don't
era
s-
again, or they just dropped it
He
altogether.
is
Don't
yeah,
skip
I'm just
four.
Lord, who cares?
Don't skip 4.
I'm just trying to get into classic Doctor Who, and they're pulling this shit on me.
Of all the ones
well-
to skip, don't skip 4.
Also,
He's the
getting
best
into
one.
classic Doctor Who is hard enough nowadays, let alone back then.
Yeah, when I was just getting into it, the very first VHS tape I bought was the 5 Doctors. Because that's a smart decision. And so because Peter Davison's face is in the title sequence, I'm thinking, he's the Doctor.
Right.
I didn't really quite understand about regeneration and everything. And then
Yeah, you hadn't seen that.
The old guy that was supposed to be William Hartnell comes up and goes, "Yes, I am the original Doctor." And I'm going,
That's so weird. That's such a weird thing.
Red Dwarf is much easier to follow. You watch seasons 1
Yeah.
through 6, and then you stop watching it altogether and have a very, very pleasant experience.
Hey,
No,
season 10 is awesome.
it is not.
Season 10 is really good.
It is
like,
not.
way better
I
than you
wa-
think.
I
Yes,
watched,
it is.
I watched the first
love
half of it.
season
It
10.
sucked. It's the
I
magic
love
is
season
gone.
10. It was
Anyway.
delightful to me. There were so many
Season
good
10
things.
was okay.
I loved it.
11 and
Aw, it's
11
so
and 12,
fun.
I cannot tell you anything about them.
I've never
watched
seen
them.
11 or 12.
They fell out of my head.
I've never
That's it.
seen the Back to Earth. The
Oh,
season
don't,
9.
don't. That
I've never
ruined-
seen that. Because
no.
everybody says don't do it, don't you
No.
dare.
It-
So I was like, all right, I won't.
Only watched
I will
it once.
someday.
I'll tell you how.
I will someday, just because I'm a huge Red Dwarf fan. I mean, I've read this in the
and
90s.
also a masochist.
In the 90s, I got the books, which was like here was not a thing. Red Dwarf was not a thing.
Your
So I
story
had to,
is so like mine. The whole VHS thing, getting the books when you're a teenager, all of this shit, and quoting the episodes verbatim.
Yeah.
This is what my brother and I did. Except
I
he's
mean, I-
dyslexic, so he didn't read the
I
books.
can tell you esoteric bullshit about Red Dwarf. Like I am like, I know like everything from like season 1 through 5. Name it, and I can answer a question.
How much of this
Like,
is making
I
the
am-
podcast episode, I wonder?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think
I don't know.
we're getting
it's
slightly
fine.
off topic. So,
fine.
does anybody have any other news items?
No. They should make a
I
red
don't
I will
know
take that.
anything
I am
about
lacking.
anything.
I will take that as a no. So I think at this point we should move on to our next segment, which I am calling Super Happy Fun Happy Time.
Super happy fun drop headphone time. You didn't.
Which is so awesome I knocked over my headphones. But yeah, we're just gonna have some fun and games here. I'm gonna
Yes, yes,
toss a
great.
game idea at these people and watch them squirm because yes, I like that.
Squirming already.
So, first game idea. Pitch this game. I'm going to give you a concept and give you 30 seconds or so to try and make me want to invest my money, buy whatever in this
Shark Tank
game
it.
idea.
Yeah, so Shark Tank, but with losers. Cool, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. So, first idea. If Doom was an adventure game, let's see. And because you squirmed at it, we'll start with trolls.
Oh.
Oh, and by the way, I'm instituting this rule. I will dock 5,000 points from anybody at the mere mention of the word soup. Trolls, go.
Okay. Well,
Come on.
I would pitch Doom as a text adventure, and old school Infocom text adventure, and it would be one of those like cave adventures, like the original adventure. You would walk around the maze, but it would all be text, and every once in a while an imp would show up, and you could either talk to it, which would kill you, or fight it, which would sometimes kill you, or not. There's a random number generator in there somewhere, and it's one of the most abysmally hard games ever. But once you finish it, man, do you feel like a man, or woman, or child, or whatever.
Wanderer, go.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna pitch it where it has. So it's got difficulty settings, right? So we got nightmare and all that, but there's also a puzzle-less mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Bear with me.
Interesting.
No, I know you've never heard that before, and it's a wild concept, but just bear with me.
Also, am I hearing a parakeet in the background?
The parakeet is the puzzle.
I hear a bird. You're not crazy.
Does anyone have a bird? Anyway,
I don't have a bird.
Clock is
This pitch
ticking.
is weird.
Incorporate the parrot somehow.
Yes, it is. Okay, so it starts off with this parrot, and he sends you to hell.
Right.
So the parrot sends you to hell. First puzzle is, unless you've got the puzzle-less mode on, first puzzle is a... Oh, crap.
It's a good start for a
So,
puzzling.
okay,
one.
there's a
Doing good so far.
there's a keyhole in the other side of the door, and you got to get a newspaper.
Oh no. Can we dock him 5,000 points for that?
Hi, Richard Cobbett.
Don't swear.
Second.
But because this is Doom, we can just blow that door right off with a shotgun. So multiple puzzle ways, multiple puzzle solutions.
Right.
Many of them involving shotguns.
I like this. I don't know why, but,
Okay.
but I like this.
Ikifoo, you give it a try.
All right. Well, you've all seen the story of Doom from the perspective of the Doom guy, which I suppose is
Yes.
your perspective, but it's splitting hairs. What about everybody else on Phobos or Deimos or whichever of the moons and however you pronounce them? There were, not all of them would have died. So imagine there's one person in the background, and he has two tasks. One, help the Doom guy in whatever way he can, reveal items, point them towards keys, that kind of thing, but also survive, because at some point those monsters are going to come knocking on the door, and you've only got so much resources, time and attention to dedicate towards either one of these tasks. So you've got to hit that balance of getting yourself out of danger and helping the one hope the human race has against the forces of hell.
So you're doomed to die. Is this an adventure game?
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds interesting, but
I mean,
don't
it depends
really
if-
see the adventure game in it.
I mean, it
But
depends
then,
if you
We will be
say
talking
critical
about
paths. in
what
adventure
defines an
game.
adventure game later. So maybe
I guess someone.
He'll save
some-
himself.
I know which way I'm going to pitch it.
Survival horror adventure gamey.
anyway.
I mean, you can
Pete,
just
give it a
walk
try.
around.
All right. A adventure game RPG hybrid like Quest for Glory, right? Where
Uh-huh.
you start
Saw that
out
coming.
as Crybaby mode, right? And you work your way up to Nightmare mode, right? And so, like, at first, everything's kind of easy, and you're kind of weak, but then you can build up your things by killing things, and it's like, you have to solve puzzles, and there's multiple options, like multiple ways of solving puzzles, and like the key card stuff is there. Like, it's the same like layout. It like looks the same, except it's it's a not action. I mean, kind of action. RPG adventure game hybrid, and so like you have to. I've got to get over this gap, so maybe I can like. I was gonna say rocket jump, but that's a Quake thing. But like.
It kind of started in Doom.
But you could do stuff like that. Like you can, hey, I found the rocket, so rocket launcher. So let's try this. And like, there's options of like getting through things, and you build up, and you just go. It's just like the same like game layout, but with RPG adventure hybrid elements.
You have all the chapter names named after the difficulty options. Chapter 1,
Yeah,
I'm too young
yeah,
to die.
exactly. Like you work through it. You work through like you start out with the baby hood. Like your starting equipment is a pacifier and a baby hood. Like a
Wait,
baby
that was
body.
Wolfenstein, wasn't it? Never mind.
Was it?
I think
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It was.
I don't know.
All you-
I'm
All
gonna
your
admit,
first-person shooters look alike.
I do like first-person shooters to a point, but I'm not a huge player of
Me
first-person
too.
shooters.
Yeah, man.
So
Me
like I
personally,
think
I'm
I'll
kinda-
kind of blend
I'm kinda
in
leaning
together.
towards Wanderers. But I say we have you people watching out there vote on this, and we'll give the most popular person a cookie or something.
Yay,
So
cookies.
let's
Trolls will give you a massage, apparently.
let's
Take the cookie. I don't know what this was. This is the closest.
never
the
mind the
closest
Hemos. What was that
15
face?
rated explanation I had.
Invisible
So,
buttocks.
now that you got the idea, let's turn that idea on its head. How about if King's Quest was a first-person shooter? Let's go the other way around.
That would
We'll
be
start
great.
with Pete.
I love it. Okay. I got it. You
Right.
get to kill, like, everything. You get to shoot
Uh-huh.
everything. You start out with a shotgun, and you can kill Cedric. You can kill Mananan. You can kill, the gypsy guy. You can kill, what's
And of course, every time you kill a Cedric, it has to make a noise.
poisonous snake. Woo! You can kill the poisonous snake.
Oh, poisonous
You can
buckshot.
kill the witch. Do you remember the witch in the first one? There's a witch.
Yeah.
Is it the first one or the second one? the random bullshit deaths you can do, you can shotgun that shit. Just shoot it all.
Take this, Rumpelstiltskin motherfucker.
Exactly.
Now
Like,
spell your
it's
name
like-
with broken teeth.
I got a name for it too. King Graham's Revenge.
Roll over me when I push you the other way, you stupid rock! Ikifoo.
Yeah, exactly. You could shoot the rock and just blow it up. You start out with like the best guns. Like you can have the option. It's very satisfying. Like there's no challenge. It's just satisfaction to get to destroy everything in those games. And there's physics,
right,
like you can
Ikifoo.
blow up stuff.
You've had your chance.
No, for God's sake, keep talking.
No ideas?
Well, obviously, having King Graham with some kind of firearm wouldn't quite be right. I never did that fable thing of, transporting 100 years into Musketeer times. But how about this? Someone jumps back a couple of 100 years into those times, and shit.
And shits. Okay, cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. Honestly, might be it. Although you could make something out of that, perhaps. And this may or may not be inspired by a game I've played recently. You have a firearm, but that's the easy option. That's the easy way out. Shooting off locks, shooting your enemies. Sure, you can go ahead and do that, but there's going to be consequences for that.
Right.
You can find ways around it. You can find humane, more socially acceptable ways around it. And maybe not just, you get the bad ending. If you go around firing your gun in town, maybe everyone will look at you warily, or not talk to you, or run away at the goddamn sight of you.
May I ask
Sort
a
of
quick
like an Elder
question?
Scrolls game.
Yes, trolls.
So throwing a pie into the Yeti's face, under which category does that fall?
One of your weapons
Well,
is a pie.
If it's
Well, you
first
throw the
person
pie.
and you're throwing it at him, I'd say that counts.
Oh man, throwing that pie in VR, what would that be like?
Oh man.
Pixely.
But you throw the pie, that serves as the distraction, and then you shoot its balls off.
Yes.
I like it.
A+.
All right, Wanderer, go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to go and start off with a scene from Space Quest where we crash in Daventry. Do you remember that? Okay,
That
so this.
was 4?
I think so.
No, it's the first one.
Hey!
What the hell is wrong?
It is the first one. It is the first one.
I'm not the historian. I'm sorry.
Oh, wait, I am. It's the first one.
Yeah. It's the first one. Okay.
He's not the
So-
historian.
EGA, not VGA.
I'm the mist historian. Remember?
Oh, right. Right.
So, opening cutscene, first person's perspective. Graham walking down the steps. He sees Roger Wilker crash straight into the moat. But that's not where it ends. Because.
That would be weird.
Because.
Very
5
short
seconds
game.
long.
So,
Not even a game.
by doing that, he's opened up a rift which he came through, and aliens are pouring into Daventry. So, King Graham. He's also actually, you know what? He's in this game. You are restricted to weapons of the Daventry time period, but in addition, because we need some ranged weapons, right? We're gonna have a crossbow that you can launch Cedric, and he boomerangs back to you. But that's on a charge timer. You can only do that once every, let's say 45 seconds, and then every other time you gotta hack and slash with the sword.
My hind feathers are killing me. Awesome.
For a second, I thought you were pitching like the Terminator Genesis of King's Quest.
Well, basically.
It's like starts out normally and then suddenly.
Or medieval equivalent of Postal 2 where you shove the shotgun up the cat's ass.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. You're with me on that.
But I
So-
like the idea of just monsters, Sierra villains from other universes, whatever, just piling through this portal, and poor Graham's just standing there going, "What the fuck is happening? I thought this was going to be a slow Sunday. I should be sleeping in. The fuck?"
Yeah, it's like
I mean, I was going to go out and save the kingdom and be a knight, but you know what?
we can
Check.
I think they'll give me
just gonna stay in
at
and
least
read.
a
I've
medal
got a
for
title
this.
too. I've got a title. It's King's Quest Into the Sierraverse.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah.
This
Pretty
time it's personal and business.
In that order.
Apocalypse.
All right, trolls.
I've got it. I'm gonna sweep the floor with this one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's easier when you're going last.
I know. I've had a lot of
It
time
really
to think
is.
about this one. Okay, King's Quest, but in the style of Resident Evil 7, the gritty reboot of King's Quest. It's now a survival horror game. King Graham has been ousted from the castle. He's living a dirt poor life. Everyone's out to kill him, and it's not Mask
Has
of
his hand
Return.
been sewn back on?
Yes, all of that. But it's the gritty
got a
reboot, so
wristwatch
now
for no
it's
reason.
it's a gritty reboot, so now it's mutated, and now every once in a while it tries to kill him. He has nightmare visions, and Cedric is haunting his asshole. I don't know, something like that. And
Specifically,
and
his
it-
asshole.
basically, it would be the nightmare, kind of like what American McGee did with Alice in Wonderland. Think that kind of
Right.
shit. Yeah. So a survival horror game, and of course the object is to reclaim the throne from the hellspawn that opened up under Castle Daventry and spooched forth Roberta Williams's evil minions. I don't know how this
Sorry,
works.
what was that word?
Yeah.
Spooched forth?
you know.
Spooged forth.
Yeah, you
Okay.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm tempted to give it to him just for spooged. But again, as with all these games, you can let us know what you think. So,
Do I get a cookie?
move on to another game. Maybe.
2 cookies.
This one I like to call a spoonful of moon logic. I will present a problem, a simple problem, normally. Could be either from a game or real life, what have you. Again, it would normally have a simple solution. Not with us. We are going to apply moon logic to that shit.
We don't do that here.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So here's the situation. You're in your local supermarket, whatever. You know, just buying a few bare essentials. You go down the cereal aisle, but oh darn, that cereal you really, really like is on the top shelf, and you're too short to reach it. What do you do?
Daily experience
Trolls.
for me.
What I do? Well, first of all, you have to go up to the queue near the till and distract the old lady with the almost empty shopping cart, so you can steal her shopping cart. You have to roll that over to the shelf, but you also have to
liking
stop
this
the
already.
wheels from moving, so you have to get
Right, of course.
a bunch of day-old tortilla chips from the back, pile those under the wheels, and the way to get into the back is, of course, to also distract the 17-year-old guy smoking near the back of the. You have to give him a poisoned cigarette, kind of like the chameleon in Under Killing Moon, that whole thing. So you break in there, get the day-old tortilla chips, stick them under the wheel, and now you can climb into the shopping cart. But lo and behold, your arms are too short, like a T-Rex. So you have to also go over to the frozen
Funnily
dinner.
enough, I forgot to mention your T-Rex.
Over to the frozen dinner refrigerator and get out 2 frozen turkeys so you can stick those on your hands and manipulate those. But you need to defrost the turkeys, although not too much. So you go behind the counter. Again, you have to distract the poor guy who's chopping off his own fingers because he's high and he's just an apprentice. You have to distract him. I'll maybe call him an ambulance. I don't know. Put those 2 turkeys in the microwave. Set them to the correct time. Defrost ambassador style, but not too much. And then you stick them on your hands, climb into the shopping cart, and then you reach your turkey fingers out and you grab the cereal, and then you fall over and die because this is a Sierra game.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not sure if I should bother, but let's move on to The Wanderer.
that is a hard act to follow, man. Okay.
If you want to surrender, you're more than welcome to.
No, never.
Awesomonster, that's the next game we're doing, by the way.
Yeah, it sounds
accepted.
amazing. I can't wait.
Okay, so in my one, you're gonna have to. First of all, we're gonna have there's some distraction as well. We're gonna have to distract the checkout guy. distract him, so he turns his back. So we can then operate that, that intercom microphone thing.
Right.
So we have to we have to do that and say, restock on aisle whatever it is. So then they'll bring out that cart with the ladder that comes up, that they climb up to restock the shelves. So that cart comes out, but then the guy's restocking, so then we have to get rid of him somehow too. So to do that, we have to stand underneath that cart thing. We have to loosen one of the ladder ring things, and then he climbs down and falls off. Then that renders our cart thing absolutely useless. So what do we have to do? We have to go over to the, I'm thinking Moon Logic, so I'm not going to say hardware section. We'll say the kitchenware section, and get some spatulas and make a new ladder rung out of that. But
Duct tape as well.
duct tape. Well, actually, no, that's too easy.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to use some wet wipes, and we're gonna have to mix that with flour and water from the other two aisles. Make a sort of glue, the wet wipes, and then stick it all together like that.
This is good.
But then our cart thing's in the wrong section. It's in the wrong section, and the wheels are locked, and it needs a key. So we're gonna have to get the key.
Damn.
We're gonna have to then go outside, see a guy smoking as well, who hates his job. We're gonna convince him to quit, and he'll be like, you know what? Yeah, screw this. He takes his uniform off. We put it on. We go back into the supermarket. Go into the
He
back.
just strips stark naked right there in the middle of the street.
Employees do that all the time.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's how I quit my last job. So then we go into the back, and then the manager's office. That's where the key for this thing is. The manager's office, but he's on the phone talking to corporate. He's having a heated conversation. He's not going to be done for ages. So we're then going to have to spoof a text message by going to the map and changing locations. So we're going back to our house, back to our computer, because we're an IT guy. I didn't mention that before, did we? No. Anyway, so we're going to spoof a text message, and we're going to send it to a mobile phone that we have. I guess it's in our starting inventory. Then we go back onto the map screen, back to the supermarket, back to the manager's office, and then Bluetooth or whatever the text message to his phone. So he'll leave the office, we go in, the key is also in a lockbox.
This is an entire game. This is just the walkthrough for an entire game.
So
Gonna
the
have
lockbox...
to have to bring it to some kind of a conclusion.
Okay, so the lockbox, as all lockboxes have, has slider puzzle on the top to open it. So we do the slider puzzle, we open it up, we get the key, we go back, we unlock the wheels, we push the cart, we climb up it, we take the cereal, and then, yeah, that's it.
That sound
They're coming
is...
to arrest
and the
you.
cops-
Yeah, there's the
Cops
people
coming
coming
to
to take you away.
Haha.
Yeah, I titled the game A Spoonful of Moon Logic, not a gigantic bucketful.
Soup can
pot.
of Moon Logic.
And minus 5,000 points to both of you.
Oh, it's
God damn it.
finished.
But no, I should probably rate the... I would rate yours... Well, first off, Trolls' was freaking genius. I would rate his not just a full moon, a full blood moon. Because that was freaking awesome.
Thank you.
Yours got a little long-winded. I would rate it sort of half to waxing crescent.
I got inspired by Rem, so...
Ikifoo.
All right. You're in the supermarket. The cereal's on the shelf. It's too high. What can you do? Well, simple. You walk down to the end of the aisle where the fish counter is, and you just break that glass open. So you get a nice long flood of water heading down towards the aisle. But
Oh, so these are
that's not gonna
live
be
fish.
quite good. That's not
Like the
quite going to
lobster
be good
tank.
enough. I mean, we just have a sort of sloped thing with fish and ice.
And no one's
I don't know if
stopping
there's a
you.
fancy name for it, but
All right.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
yeah, somebody's stopping me, trolls.
Oh, sorry. Yes, my apologies.
That's fine.
Sorry, flood.
But this is just making a little puddle, and that's not quite what we have in mind. So we head a couple of aisles down to where they have the giant crates of Iron Brew. Bring as many of those down as we can, and so just keep those there until they have dented the floor sufficiently to allow some water to pool. Now, what do we do here? Well, we get the thickest can of high-grade corn syrup that we can, lay that on its side. A couple of aisles back down, usually at the end of supermarkets in these fair aisles, and get a couple of baguettes. On the way back to the cereal/fish aisle, we... some spaghetti will do it. I mean, obviously we'll need to, I don't know, break open a couple of milk containers to wet the spaghetti for what we have in mind, which is to tie the breadsticks together and lay them. So, corn syrup thing is here, lay the baguettes on like that. Go and grab a couple of melons, and so then put one
and
melon
then head to the fruit
on
aisle.
one end.
I think we've discovered Ikifoo's fetish.
Anyway, and so we get one melon on one end of our baguette seesaw, and you can see where this is going. Drop one other melon on the other end.
Obviously.
Melon goes down, melon goes up. Melon comes down again into the puddle of water that came from the fish tank, which we dented down with the Iron Brew cans, and this splashes water onto the metal shelving on which the cereal is stored. And so then we go to the freezer aisle, dive in, and emerge about 100 years later, by which point rust will have completely overtaken the shelves, and the cereal will be within reach.
Brought that one home.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll give you 6/8 of a moon, because even though we're dealing with moon logic, there should still technically be real world physics, easy enough for me to say, and the melons would surely break, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah.
You can't do the basketball.
You're worried about the baguettes less than the melons?
They're frozen. They can withstand a nuclear explosion.
They're day-old
Tell you what.
baguettes.
Yeah. Yeah, they can be
Awesomonster.
weaponized.
If you try to use a new baguette, then it just breaks. So you have to get specifically a day-old baguette. Anyway,
I happen to know that factually that's true. They do not hold up in a sword fight.
And these ratings probably don't make sense because I don't know my moon phases, but who cares? Awesomonster.
the problem with all of your solutions is you're thinking too logically.
Oh.
He has a point.
You're trying to get the cereal off the shelf that you can see. My solution is to sneak into the back and steal some cereal from the pallets that they have in the back of, the restock, stuff. So, you have to sneak into the back of the supermarket. How do you do that? You can't just sneak by because there's employees all over the place in your way.
Naked
so,
employees.
first, you have to
There's
go
Troll's
to the
fetish.
bathroom. You're allowed to go to the bathroom in a supermarket. So you go into the bathroom, and you, obviously, in every supermarket bathroom, there's, a toolbox. And, so you have to get into the toolbox, but the toolbox is locked. Oh my gosh, right? So you have to figure out how to get the lock for the toolbox. So you go back to the freezer department, like the freezer section, and you have to adjust the temperature on the freezer to go lower so that the freezer thaws and distracts one of the employees. And then while the one employee is distracted, you have to pick his pocket. But you can have the option to pick his pocket anytime, but you can only pick his pocket when he's distracted by the melting freezers, right? So you pick his pocket, you get a hairpin from his pocket, and you have to pick the lock on the toolbox, and inside the toolbox is a screwdriver. So you take the screwdriver, and you go to the oil section, and you use the screwdriver on the oil shelf to break the shelf and spill the oil all over the floor. Then you get a handful of oil. You take it to... No, wait! not just
We've
a
all
handful of
played
oil.
that game.
You have to go and get a dustpan from the cleaning section. Use the dustpan to scrape up the oil. You use the oil to put it on the floor of another employee, in front of another employee who's blocking the way to the back. You put it in front of the floor, but only when he's not looking. He has to turn around, and it's like timed. Like you have to time it right.
One of those.
So he's turned around. You got to put the oil on the floor, and like he's pacing back and forth, and you have to put it on the ground in the specific spot. So he slips and falls and breaks his hip because you're a horrible person because you're an adventure game protagonist.
Asshole request.
Of course.
Then you sneak past him into the back, but there's like a pallet. So there's a mini game where you have to move the pallets with a forklift, and you move the pallets out of the way. And you have to, it's like Sokoban, like you have to get it in like the right positions to get to the cereal pallet. And then, oh no, the cereal pallet's all wrapped up with, plastic wrap around it to keep it protected while they ship it, right? So you have to go to another employee and get some kind of box cutter. So it's like there's like employees working in the back, and you have to like find the one that has a box cutter and pickpocket him. But it's only one. Only one has the box cutter you need, and it's random every time. So it's like they have like the different hair colors, and it's the only way you can tell the difference. And like it's randomized. So one of them has a box cutter, and if you get caught, you have to start the whole sequence all over again. So you get the box cutter, cut the plastic wrap, and get your cereal.
Wow. And
So that was basically George Stobart goes to get cereal, right?
Yeah, that was good. There were so many classic inventory items in that, but that whole
I'm not
palette...
even going to give you
Sorry.
I'm not even going to give you an Earth moon for that. I'm going to give you one of the moons of Jupiter for that one.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Nice.
But the second you said that whole pallet moving thing, I was having flashbacks to the fucking furniture puzzle in 11th Hour, and I nearly broke a hip.
There's a lot. I'm inspired by a lot of games. In my
Reminded me of
puzzle
Grim
Clearly.
Fandango, actually, with the forklift.
design, like Shenmue.
All right. So that's all the games we got for today, and we'll change the games up from podcast to podcast and whatnot. And if you got any suggestions, do let me know, or let one of us know. And well, we might just ignore them. No, I'm kidding. We'd love to hear from you. So, after all the fun and games and the little tiny mini news topics, time to get on to our main point of discussion this time around. And as it's our first episode, I figured I'd choose something rather appropriate. We describe ourselves as the YouTube Adventure Roundtable, dealing with adventure games and whatnot. But what precisely defines an adventure game? Is there some aspect, quality, mechanic, whatever, that a game has to have to make you as an adventure gamer go, yeah, I want to play that game? Trolls.
There were my original definition for an adventure game, which is malleable and flexible, but the original definition I had was that the two key elements in an adventure game are larceny and manipulation. You talk to someone and make them do shit either against their will or persuade them to, and you steal their shit to give to other people. So that's main mechanic of an adventure game. Larceny and manipulation. A good story wouldn't hurt, but it doesn't have to have one. I mean, the Day of the Tentacle story is not a magnificent literary piece, but it is a classic adventure game because the puzzles are so cohesive and brilliantly designed. So, and the Orion Conspiracy, as we all know, has some of the best puzzles and story and voice direction and all of these things that just makes it a classic in its own right. So it's it's possible for all of these elements to come together, and or you can just really focus on one element at a time.
I think Ikifoo might have a slight rebuttal.
I'm here. I'm good.
Just
The red mist is fading. Sorry, if you wanted to finish that, then you can.
Like in
Go ahead.
Kill
Oh,
Bill.
That green is not a light. He's turning into the Hulk right now.
It's only green on the rubbish cam. It's actually quite purple on the half decent one. You shall find out one day. Anyway, What I found is that a lot of the games that I first encountered, well, they had some form of, if not violence exactly, then some kind of combat or competition to them. And what an adventure game showed me is that was not mandatory. Okay, Full Throttle did kind of both, but the overall majority, you're using wits, guile, persuasion, deception, thievery, kicking dogs into rivers, and
Beneath the Steel
I
Scale.
thought that was Broken Sword.
It's Beneath the Steel Scale.
that's
Well, maybe it's Broken Sword 2 as well.
All of them.
Broken Sword 2,
Both of
yeah.
them.
That was the one I was thinking of. But yeah, you're using what was certainly at the time of adventure games a bit of an alternative in terms of what you could do to solve a problem, even if that problem was usually something along the lines of things are moving and they should be dead.
Yes.
Wanderer, Pete?
Well, I reckon for me, what makes an adventure game, that has to have two things, similar to Trolls, but not so much larceny. But
It has to have a trolls in it. Okay.
exploration and puzzle solving. So, and also puzzle solving doesn't necessarily mean to me a physical puzzle like the furniture one in the 11th hour. So what I mean by that is, so for example, journals, right? So you're collecting pieces of information and you're filling in the blanks of the circumstances of what's going on in that particular story or situation. So in a way, to me, filling in the blanks and reading a journal and having that aha moment, so this is what's going on, that also constitutes as puzzle solving for me anyway. But yeah, those two, so puzzle solving and exploration.
I'm going to let Awesomonster talk, but
Ditto. Like that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is like there's a world to explore and
Right.
problems to solve. Like you have, and even like text adventures like have this. You have a world you can explore with various areas that you can go to, and there's problems to solve. Like that's really the fundamentals to me for like an adventure game. And there's a lot of different configurations for those two fundamentals, but it's always got the same element of like there's a world to explore, hence the adventure, and there's problems to solve, and that can be fetch quests or puzzles or what have you. Like it doesn't have to be like slider puzzles or mazes or whatever bullshit that they love to put in adventure games. But like it doesn't have to be that kind of like specific like puzzle, capital P puzzle, but like you oh, this person has a problem, or I need to get into this area, or I don't know what to do, so let's just explore and see what there is to do. Like in a lot of text adventures, they just kind of put you there, like in like Zork, like this very first Zork, there's a White House. What do you do? Like you just
Yeah.
That's a problem to solve. What do you do can be a problem to solve in an adventure game. So
it's like the main design of Space Quest 4.
I missed.
And talking to text adventures, do you think graphics are necessary
No.
to what you would? Because I've never played text adventures myself because I really don't have the patience for them, to be honest. I don't know why. Maybe because I
Some
have
people don't.
a hard time in. It's
Like
weird to say
visualizing.
that I have a hard time envisioning the
Right.
world that I'm in, because I can read a book and envision everything perfectly
Right.
fine. It's
No,
just
that totally
maybe
makes sense.
maybe with text adventures you have the added burden
A
of
lot of-
trying to actually play the game. So
A lot of text
brain's kinda
adventures
taken
too
up.
are kind of minimal on description. Like you'd think because all there is text that they would describe stuff, but in like Zork, it's like you're in front of a White House. There's a mailbox. That's it. That's all you get. Like they're not
Yeah.
Literary
like, some are
masterpiece.
great. There are some really really good, well written ones, of course, but a lot of times it's like the very bare bones of what there is. So it's like it's hard to visualize. Like you have to type exits to find out where you can go. Like that
Yeah.
sucks. That's
Yeah.
shitty.
It's super interesting with the old text adventures was that the whole idea of world building and the fabulous locales and such was not as interesting to the old text adventures as was the act of puzzle solving and mazes. Let's not forget the first adventure game ever called Adventure was essentially just a real world cave that someone had made into an adventure cave. He was a caver. He went in and mapped out caves, so he just actually went home and in database software wrote the cave, like separate rooms of the cave. Then you then went around and explored the cave, I guess.
Right.
The original text adventures were not big on describing big beautiful worlds in a literary way. That was not their intention at all. It was puzzles first and
Yeah, I
foremost.
mean, bearing in mind, the time that these were coming out, there were actual real restrictions on this kind of thing. Maybe
That
not
too,
so much
like
in
size.
text adventures, but like Commodore 64, for example, there's only so much you're going to get on a tape. Like for RPGs, that sometimes they would actually print the prose or some long character dialogue or monologue in the manual. So like they
Yeah.
would literally say,
Like go
this
to
character
page.
walks up to you and go to see paragraph 255.
Yeah.
There was a,
Yeah.
And
there was a physical limit on how much would fit.
That was supposed to be kind of my next question because, as I've often said, I'm more sort of an all-round gamer. If I like it, I'll play it. Doesn't matter the genre. So all the genres sort of tend to blend into one another for me. So when would you say an adventure game stops being an adventure game and sort of veers into other genres like RPG or shooter or what have you?
Okay. I'm
When you ask a couple of tabletop gamers to make an adventure game, that's a...
well, I'm going to open this can of worms because I have been chastised and admonished by my colleagues over the Backseat Designers podcast. Why did I put the emphasis there? They're just the backseat designers, not the backseat designers.
The back seat boys.
Admonished
Back
that I used to have
seat.
kind of a conservative view of what an adventure, kind of a sort of purist, kind of a purist approach to what an adventure game is. Your Space Quests and your Monkey Islands, these are traditional point and click adventure games, and everything else that incorporates other elements is filth, I tell you. And then out comes the walking simulator, and it's kind of like this, like a sister genre to the adventure games, and I fall head over heels in love with walking simulators because I love the world building of them, and I love the slow pace of them, and you're not as focused on solving problems in the world as you are and just experiencing the story and all of that. And I realize what I actually love about adventure games is not so much the storytelling or the puzzles or the world building or all of that. It is just the simple fact that I do not have to have any sort of quick reactions or trigger or juggle stats or any of the other bullshit that all the other genres of games have to do. However, I've also gone on record previously saying that games like Alone in the Dark and I guess to a certain point like Resident Evil or Another World or all of these are not adventure games. Myst is not an adventure game. It is a switch flipping simulator. I've said that many times. So yes,
But
I know.
you've never played it.
I know. I've seen a Let's Play and it bored me to tears. Anyway, and I've come to understand.
thanks.
I've come to understand, sort of begrudgingly, that the adventure game banner is a lot bigger than I was willing to admit. There's a lot more room for stuff. I mean, stuff like hidden object games, walking simulators, all of this shit can fall under the adventure game banner.
I mean, you had, who was it, John Romero, try to convince you that Doom was an adventure game?
Not only trying to, it's sort of succeeding, actually. That was a hell of an episode.
I could see that. I could see that. I think that it's an experiential thing. Like, if your experience is like I'm exploring, I am solving things, and you'd even like regardless of anything else, I think that if you're feeling like you're on an adventure. I know that sounds so like
I get that.
it feels like
Yeah.
an adventure, but like I kind of mean it. I kind of like if you feel like you're on an adventure of some sort, if you feel like you're like if you hop into I don't know, like Don't Starve, like a game where it's a survival game and you're like exploring a world and trying to survive. I don't know if you feel exactly like you're on an adventure while you're doing that, like because there's no plot. I mean, not that there has to be a plot, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's a feeling that you have. I think that's, for me, what it is. Like, the feeling that I have when I'm playing it is what defines what an adventure game is. So I would say, walking simulators, probably, I feel like I'm on an adventure a lot of times, even if it is a little adventure, like Gone Home, where you're trying to figure out where your family is. Like, even though it's a little adventure, it's still like, I feel like, ooh, I'm exploring this cool mansion, and it's like, it's exciting, it's fun.
Yeah. You're still uncovering shit. I mean, stuff like Journal.
Right.
Journey, sorry, on the PlayStation, which is ostensibly just like an action puzzle platformy type thing, but not really, because there's still that linear progression. You're still figuring things out along the way, and it has, it's a beautiful scenery, and it's not really that difficult. It's not really it's not like Cuphead. It's not out to test your trigger finger and shit like that. It's just a nice.
Right.
I think that's a part of it too.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of it too.
Journey's
like,
a good word for it, actually.
You're on a journey.
It's taking you on a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had to pick something that would, again, to my untrained eye, make an adventure game, it would be, like Ikifoo said, a journey. But there would have to be an emphasis on story, with a balance of, I'd say, not just puzzles, but puzzles that have a reason to be there, and not
Discworld,
just
you're
puzzles
out.
for puzzles' sake. Yeah.
Discworld is not an adventure game.
But again, I could
Talk about
I could
moon
easily
logic.
have my mind changed about that.
Well, then you've got the Portal series too.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a
Well,
first-person shooter, or is that an adventure game?
Or is it a puzzle game
that's
disguised as a shooter, disguised as an adventure game?
Yeah, I would
Exactly.
I would
don't
call
know.
that mostly a puzzle game with elements of a first-person shooter and a little bit
I
of
think
story in it. But the
Portal
story is not
2
the emphasis, I don't think.
Portal
Yeah.
2, I think, because it has more story elements, I think that I would be more comfortable
even
saying
then.
Portal 2 is kind of an adventure game. Portal
It's
1 is
more
kind
of an adventure game, but
Right,
I don't
more
think
of
it's
adventure.
still.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm?
I think that
what I'm realizing from all of this really is because I think it was actually a good thing that we started out describing text adventures first and then went into because nowadays when we think of an adventure game or a pointy clicky affair, as Ikifoo says, we start from 1989, maybe 1990, and then work our way upwards, and that's like the golden classic era that we remember. But there was an adventure game world before that. Before we had E.T. for the Atari and the Indiana and before the video game crash of the 80s, there were mainframe adventures. So basically, what we can take from this is, alongside Pong machines, which were the genesis of the arcade games, we also have the adventure games. And from these two genres, all other genres have grown and evolved. So when we say that stuff like Fallout 3 and 4 have adventure game elements in it, because you said elements, Gemini, there are elements of an adventure game here.
Right.
I think it's interesting to see that all games, from Doom, I'm ashamed to admit, all the way up through Daikatana and up to Fallout, whatever hell number we've gotten to right now, all stem from either Pong or adventure on a mainframe, and just sort of have evolved, like, spready tentacly from there.
Which
the dogs
may
agree.
contribute to what I was
Galactus
saying
is
earlier
very-
about
he wants
all
me
the
to open the
genres
door.
sort of blending into each other nowadays.
Stop it! I'm not opening the door. Get out of here.
Sorry.
Who let the dogs in?
I need to go let him out.
I
of the
think the
room
dog's a
because
little
he's throwing
impatient.
the
So,
yeah.
does anybody have anything else to add?
Galactus. I will add that E.T. for the Atari is an adventure game.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Atari game, is just obtuse. And we were talking about Moon Logic earlier. It's just amazingly obtuse, but it is an adventure game more than it is an action game or anything else. And I'm talking like the old one for Atari. And it's interesting how Lucasfilm ended up doing adventure games for Indiana Jones, ostensibly an action hero, but never did a Star Wars adventure game. They only did action games.
I am
with them.
baffled by that.
Yeah.
We could talk about that later. I am baffled by that. That they
That's-
have never, like, why have they never done a Star Wars adventure game.
They were
Why
told
not?
to stay
It's
away
a-
from the license back in the
I
early
know,
90s.
but it doesn't make any sense.
I think the closest
they
they
would have
came
earned so
is
much money.
what, KOTOR?
They would have
Yeah.
earned so much money.
They would.
It's just baffling from a business sense.
But we got Sam and Max instead. Oh, and my last word.
I'm alright with it.
Oh, I'm
not a
very cool.
Star
with that.
Wars fan, but I'm just like, that seems like a great way to earn money.
Would be.
Star
Yeah.
Wars is a huge
I mean, it worked for
property.
Star Trek.
Provided your
Apples.
initials are not EA,
I-
Star Wars is a
I
good way to
love
print
those
money.
Star Trek adventure games. I love them, except for
Me too.
the space combat. They're so good.
Maybe we should just wait for Stacey Davidson to finish up his Han Solo adventures, which should be coming any centuries now. It looks like the old Indiana Jones Fate of Atlantis, but with Han Solo in it. Although Disney kind of
That
beat
sounds
him
fun.
to it, like a solo-centric story. But yeah, he's been building that for ages. I just want to say my favorite cookie
yeah.
is chocolate chip. So if anyone votes for me, Gemini has to buy me a chocolate chip.
I like Thin Mints.
Sitting there going, what the hell does that have to do with it?
I keep smelling them because they smell so good.
Well,
There's a lot of footage of me smelling cookies
on that
now.
rather crumbly note, I think we're going to bring this podcast to a close. Thanks, everybody, for... yeah,
this
it
was awesome.
was. Thanks,
It was a lot
thanks
of
for
fun.
joining. Looking forward to doing it again next time. And until we see you guys again, hopefully, for the next YAR Talk, Jikai made. Sayonara.
Bye.